Kyle, it is 2026 here for the final whistle, our first episode of the new year. We have some real big news here in Cleveland. Welcome to the final whistle. I am Mark. That is Kyle. Kyle, how are we doing today on at the time of this recording a victory Monday for the Cleveland Browns as they wrap up their season here with a win over the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's check in with Kyle on his first week in 2026. Kyle, how we doing?
You know what? I'm great. The Browns won, even though the win was to me meaningless. But hey, we're in a new era. Stefanski has been fired. We'll talk about that in just a second. But hey, we want to send a happy new year to everybody out there watching. As we thank you for watching episode. This is already 23. Hard to believe. So we are ready to go for hopefully a full year of the final whistle. Hopefully this is my good spot for internet. We'll see, but we will go from there. So let's start. We do have break news literally right before we came on the air here on Monday, as the time of this recording. Kevin Stefanski is out as the Browns head coach. He will be out of here. And Mark, we are starting with a new era as Stefanski coach, 101 games with the Browns, and was 8-26 over the past 2 years. And Mark, that's just not going to cut it. Being an NFL coach, and here we are, dawn of a new era.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think while he does have two coaches of the year, he underperformed. I think as the year went on, if you watch the Cleveland Browns, the way Kyle and I and most of our friends do that do listen to this podcast, he lost a locker room a while ago. When you have now who is the all-time single season sack leader in Miles Garrett, basically openly criticizing you, criticizing your offense, which was your calling card, as well as many other things. And when the media is just constantly on you, you make the wrong choice in some quarterback decisions and things like that, and you just have no answers for your own problems. I think the writing has been on the wall for a while. Um, Interesting to think about as well. Andrew Berry has had the off season, and things have panned out to where he is staying for another season. I'm
Yep.
sure we'll be touching on that here as a couple other things as we wrap up the Browns year. But I mean, I just think after the whole Baker Mayfield incident with Kevin Stefanski, his clock was kind of ticking, and he never really recovered from not only losing Baker but from the whole fiasco with playing him through injury and everything else. And you're kind of seeing that with Tampa all over again. But yeah, I mean, I think it was inevitable. I think had they kept him, the fans probably would have burned the place down as it was. And here we are. Now we're looking for a head coach, and Andrew Berry has to get it right. If he doesn't get this right, he as we'll talk about, we've already talked about here this morning off air. I mean, he's on his own clock, and if he doesn't get this head coaching situation corrected and corrected fast, you're probably looking at a new GM and another new head coach here in the next couple of years as well. So, I mean, that's where we are. I think this makes the fans happy. We're tired of mediocrity, and now we got to get this whole thing right.
Yeah, and you gotta just wonder like what's the thought process, because like Mark, as you said, Mark, the time is ticking on Andrew Berry. He had a good draft class with Judkins, Schlesinger, forgot a couple of other people. They made a
Still
couple
have you have
Schlesinger.
Sanders.
Yeah,
The A couple of the corners that ended up being backups played pretty well. But I mean, and you're probably getting the defensive rookie of the year in Schlesinger,
yeah,
and things like that as well. Plus, I mean, and I was talking to a couple of guys earlier today as well. When you think about it, Barry hasn't just sat on his thumb with this team as well. While he's missed on a couple of things, obviously the Watson trade, and things like that, he's taken big swings to take this team to the next level. It's not like GMs in the past where they've just sat there and kind of just let things be terrible. He's taken big swings. All things considered, he is the one. It sounds like that drafted Shador as well, who ended up winning four out of 9 games to end the year as well. So big thing to consider there. But he definitely had a good rookie class.
Yeah, it was a good one of his what 6, 7 he's had. He came in with Stefanski, so
Yep.
he's got to get this right though because I'll give it. I don't see the next coach going more than 6 years if it's like Stefanski where I mean, the two coach of the years kind of gave him that leeway, but if he doesn't make this new coach don't make the playoffs in 2 years, you got to start over. You can't just keep going 6, 7, 8 years with a coach that has is up and down. I mean, the offense got stagnant. This Stefanski, he was too stubborn, as much of us know. He wouldn't give up play calling. I get it. He's a glorified OC. He's an OC at heart. Maybe he's just not ready to coach now. If you go somewhere and it succeeds, hey, hats off to him. But I don't know. He's got to go into, and people are always saying New York or Green Bay. Those are even tougher towns because they're football towns because they have nothing. Well, New York's kind of have other sports, but Green Bay really has nothing. That's a football
Yeah,
town. You
but New
start,
York is ruthless, and we've seen that
yeah,
time and time again.
in all sports. So you kind of I don't I mean that's when we're not happy he's fired. We got to remember that we're not happy he's fired. We're happy he's fired from a football standpoint. From a personal standpoint, we're not happy anybody loses their job. But from a football standpoint, we're ecstatic and I mean I don't know what you do. I mean you cannot go like I said 6, 7, 8 years with nothing being done because if that's the case, you're still sending this team back. I think 2 years, maybe three at most. No playoffs and maybe two out of the three. Okay, you get a fourth, but if you don't make the playoffs in the first two, Mark, you gotta go. You can't have this up and down stuff. You got to be consistent, and we're not being consistent, and we don't even know the new coach if he's going to want Sanders. We'll talk about that in a minute. Is he going to want Sanders? Who's he going to want starting? There's a lot to figure out here. I don't know if that's going to go into the discussion of the interview process with all these candidates, but I don't know. It's a weird time right now. It's an exciting time, but at the same time, they got to hit this because if they don't hit this, there's gonna be even more ruthless fans and opinions, Mark, because we just don't know how this draft's going to turn out. We're the sixth pick in the draft. We're going to pick. We don't probably maybe a lineman or wide receiver. Hopefully more of a lineman, but I just don't. It's we're not in a tough situation, but we're getting to this weird situation where Barry's got a hit or his job is done, and this new coach could be out of here before we even know it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think you're correct about the coach, just based off the fact that now we are coming off of basically the longest tenured head coach for the Browns in, I believe they said over a couple of decades now. 101 games is extremely long for the Browns as of late, which take it for kind of whatever you want to take that as, whether it's a good sign or not. But at the end of the day, I mean, they do have to hit. I think we're a young team offensively. However, on the defensive side, you basically have um, a top of the, I'll say, cream of the crop defense for a few more years. So you can't really waste that, and you have all the pieces in place where they're going to be there for a while. You have Denzel Ward, you have Miles Garrett. You just signed, I believe it was Wright during the year this year. You have Emerson coming back. Swessinger, it was a diamond in the rough. Devin Bush had um, a good bounce back year. You signed Jerome Baker last year, who had, which I think he was signed to more than 1 year, so he'll be back next year, and he's been a good rotational linebacker piece as well. You have Delpit, who's been playing well, so like you have the guys on defense, and I don't think outside of maybe some interior D lineman or an extra D end on the rush side to help Miles out, that you need very much on the defense, and it's all going to be about the offense. And I also think, Kyle, the next head coach is going to be important because you also need, I think you need a new play caller. Tommy Reese,
I agree.
you gave him a chance. He did what he did, and it wasn't very good. You still kind of seen the same offense now. I don't know that, and I can't talk to the fact, obviously, as we're not in the building, so to speak, but I don't know how much of that was Stefanski still kind of putting his nose into things, even though he said he gave up play calling. But I think offensively, you kind of just need to, in my personal opinion, you need to clean house on there. You need to you already got rid of Stefanski. I think the new head coach has to be simply a head coach who just worries about time management,
Yep.
keeping the locker room together, and making any adjustments that may be needed. and you need to bring in a new OC, I think you do whatever you can or whatever is needed to keep Jim Schwartz. I don't know. I know he has said that he would listen to head coaching offers, but I don't know how much of a head coaching search he's looking to do. I think you, by any means necessary, keep him as he's basically been the backbone of this team um, as we've been on this downward slope again. I also think in interviewing these head coaches, I think you have to figure out what they're looking for because at number 6, and especially in this specific draft, you're basically looking at like you have Watson, you have Sanders, and that's what you're working with. So you need to find either an OC, a head coach, or both that can work with one of those two guys because you're not going to get Dante Moore out of this draft most likely. He'll be gone before you get there. I don't think I trust Mendoza enough. If you look at Indiana's tape and you look at the way Indiana has played, he's a big time proponent of RPOs and things of that nature, and those don't really work in the NFL. And you see that with Baltimore, um, as well as some other places. I just think you really need to focus on getting offensive pieces, and then if you need to draft a quarterback next year, not this offseason draft this year, but in the 2027 draft, I think then that's where you go because no quarterback will succeed currently the way this offense is structured. I think, and I've been a big proponent on the entire year on essentially getting O linemen, getting receivers, no matter what you do, whether it's in the draft, in free agency, or both. You need to stack this offense up and then give one of these kids a chance either from this past draft or next year and work from there. But I think the head coach and the OC are big proponents in where this team is going to go, and clearly the front office seems to be very serious in the fact that they're not looking for mediocrity either. I mean, we went what was it,
31.
1-8,
I mean, 31.
1-9
What are you talking about?
um, just this year alone,
Oh,
before
yeah.
the 4 wins, I believe we were 1-9, and then we end the season again at 5-12. It's another mediocre season. You're in the top of the draft, and that's not where you want to be. You don't want to be in the top of draft purgatory year in and year out. It's about that time to make a big hire and to make a big move, and it seems like that's where the front office wants to go. And I hope they get it right between not only Barry and Haslam as well, because Haslam obviously has his hands in a few more things than what he has prior, and I think he needs to either go all in or go all out in what he does next.
Yeah, and it could be interesting. We'll go over. I mean, before we get on, because I want to talk about the quarterback situation, offense. I mean, some of these head coaching candidates, Mark. I mean, some we've talked about, some I like. I jot down a few names. I'm not gonna go through the whole list. I jot down just a couple. I know we talked about a lot about Mike McCarthy. He's a Super Bowl winning coach. Could develop a
And he's
quarterback.
still out there.
Yeah, one with one with Aaron Rodgers, a Super Bowl in Green Bay, offensive minded, so that's gonna kind of help. And it's with the Cowboys Packers. You got Brian Flores, who's a defensive coach. He coached the Dolphins a couple years ago. He comes from the Belichick tree, even though his first kind of head coaching didn't work out. Maybe second time around kind of helps. Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator in Seattle, offensive minded. Again, he's on a 6 NFL team. Um, I mean, do we keep Jim Schwartz? Is he? I mean, what is Mark related to? Is he come defensive minded? What does he do if he does? Is he going to be the DC and coach, or hands off and let somebody else be the DC? Or hey, I was looking at this. Robert Sala is he's the defense coordinator in San Fran, but I mean, do I? I don't know who I wouldn't be surprised if they don't interview any of these guys. Maybe Schwartz. Maybe I mean I'm gonna say probably McCarthy's out of it. I don't think McCarthy will come here unless that's a shot. We still got some candidates like Mark you related to Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, who's still out there, who we don't even know if he's gonna sign
And
his
who doesn't have
contract
a
yet.
contract.
Yes, that's interesting to watch. What did the Ravens do? I know there's been some kind of talk that the Ravens, but I'm not all these. I'm going to say this: all these big name coaches, I don't expect us to get one of them. I don't, no matter regardless if they're fired or not. We're going to get a coordinator. We're going to get like a Clint Kubiak, Brian Flores, or Jim Schwartz type of coach, like a coordinator. I don't expect a big name coach. I expect, and if it's okay if they do go young, let's go young because you have a young offense, you have a young team. Like maybe that's what we need to propel this team to the next level, which I would be okay with. Now, if you go younger, that comes maybe a little less head coaching experience. I saw Mark, not the younger, but a little older. I saw Dable's name flying around. I don't know because he already had a younger team and that didn't work out in New York. It's going to be very interesting because this coach, Mark, we talked about as we flip to the quarterbacks. Sanders is not safe. I'm going to tell you this right now for Sanders supporters. He is not safe. And I know we all love, like Sanders. I know, Mark, you're a big component of Sanders. He's not safe. If Watson is in this building week 1 of August or September 2026, he's starting because we don't know. And I want to, I'll go back. I want a coach that will push back against the organization. We know Kevin Stefanski never
I
pushed
agree.
back. He was on more of a puppet than anything. Now you push back. I want a coach to be like, or the GM to be like, hey, we want this, this, this. But I want a coach to push back and be like, oh no, I like this, this, this. Let's try this, blah, blah, blah. Like push back a little bit. That's what I want. And if it comes out in the news that there's rest or there's unrest between organization and coach, that's okay because that shows that the coach wants something different than the organization compared to what Kevin Stefanski had. He was like the puppet. Like every time you'd ask him a question, and that's why the Dylan Gabriel Sanders conversation came into play. He Sanders or Stefanski wanted Gabriel,
Yeah.
and the front office wanted Sanders. So this new coach, I think if Watson's here, he's starting week 1. This coach, I think, is going to go the experience route. I mean, do we maybe trade Sanders? I know I talked to a couple people that wouldn't be surprised we traded him, but what would we get back? There's a lot to be desired at quarterback position, Mark, and I think I'm voting Watson as a week 1 starter. He's going to get the nod unless Sander really impresses in training camp. I think the Browns are going to play that contract out so they're not sitting on a bench. And maybe at least the first half of the season. If we're out of it, then you play Sanders. But Watson's the main guy, I think, going forward until proven otherwise.
I mean, yeah, so I'm going to kind of touch on a couple of things that you mentioned. I don't want the Browns to go young. I honestly, I'm in the camp, I think, right now where we've gone young multiple times and we're still in this position where we're in the coaching carousel. Stefanski at the time was a young coach. He was only a coordinator at the time, and we
Yeah,
took a
had no
chance on him. He
head
did what
coach
he
before he came here.
Um, but I personally think with a young team, you really need a veteran coach and um a younger OC. I think that's because I think you need a guy. And I know that I think I would agree that McCarthy is probably out unless they pay him a bunch of money or he wants to kind of see what we have in Sanders, Watson, whatever the case may be. But I think the way the Browns need to go is you need a veteran coach that can show these guys the way of how to kind of work through things while also getting that OC that maybe is younger but has so much promise in play calling that like you can't pass up on him. I think that's the way you need to go with the young team, and you're looking at a young offense no matter what you do. I would agree that I don't think Sanders' starting job is safe, being that Watson is coming back. He gets a full off season to work with the guys, and so does Shador. I think there is a quarterback battle there to be had. I don't. While I wouldn't be surprised if we traded Sanders, I would at the same time because of the amount of flashes that we saw. Like he's shown the promise. I think he has still I'll call it the rookie mindset of like, hey, I've got to make this play, so I'm going to put the ball in harm's way, which you
Right.
see with every rookie quarterback that plays early. He had no choice but to start, and I don't think that the Browns really get rid of him. Not just yet. I think being that he won 4 games, he had actual um game winning drives that I think the team failed him on and the roster failed him on. And I think the new head coach will be able to see that when you kind of look at overall film tape or whatever, because we've all seen it, whether you're a Shador hater, supporter, or somewhere in the middle. Everybody, I think, can agree that there are flashes there if he can kind of learn, develop, and grow. And I think it's not out of the realm of possibility that he does learn from Watson in the next year in the next offseason, you do give him an offseason where he is that backup quarterback because he's shown that he's better than Gabriel. We can all, I think,
Mm-hmm.
agree with that sentiment that he's shown at least that. So he's probably going in to this season as QB2, fringe QB1, depending on how Watson comes back. because we haven't seen Watson in practice. We haven't seen him in a game again in another year. But I do think that, and or at least I hope that the Browns go more veteran head coach, and you find a play caller that either has the acumen from college or he has the acumen from maybe a year or two in the NFL or whatever the case may be. I do like the idea of, I believe it was the guy from Seattle, the offensive
QBX.
analyst. Yeah. So I know he's kind of on the radar. I wouldn't mind giving him an OC role just based on the fact that Seattle's offense this year and last year has been booming. Now that, give or take, has um a reason to do with Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba. We don't have a true number one here yet. And I think that's kind of going to be a roadblock for whoever comes next, is where do you find your offensive weapons? But I'm going to agree with the sentiment, Kyle, that I think we need somebody that will not only not necessarily go against the front office, but push back on, hey, this is my agenda. You need to trust me. And I think that's why we need to go with somebody more veteran that has the ability to say, like, this is my track record. You need to trust my process here and not tell me what to do. And hopefully, a veteran hire would prevent somebody like a Barry or a Haslam from doing something like that. But I guess a time is to tell. I do agree with the fact that I don't think either one of those QBs are safe in a starting role, and there is a quarterback battle to come. And we'll see what the offseason holds for both of them because, again, we haven't seen Watson in basically 2 years at this point.
Yeah, about a year and a half, almost 2 years, and you can pretty much guarantee this head coach can have a lot to say. And I go back to it. This head coach just stop, just like Stefanski did not give up play calling. I go back to that. Just give up play calling. It's fine. We don't game manage the game, and get there. If you're an OC or DC coming in, just hands off. Just do what you're supposed to do as head coach responsibilities. I think we trade Gabe. I mean, if anything, get rid of Gabriel. Trade him. Get a seventh round pick back or something. Get a sixth round pick back or something. The teams or I you can't really cut him right now, but just give him away. Give him to the Jets. Give him to Vegas or something. Vegas. I mean, look, Vegas needs a quarterback. Jets need a quarterback. I mean, you just give away to somebody else right there, and just I mean, and you okay. Well, you
Yeah,
bring in okay. You go Watson, Sanders. Okay, Zappy for 1 year, and they'll see, and then
yeah.
maybe if you don't, and then or trade for a backup or trade for a backup quarterback. I don't know. Maybe I don't even know who you trade for. You even pick up. I don't even know who's on the waiver wire because everybody's old, like a Philip Rivers. You ain't getting a Philip Rivers. You're not getting a Mac Jones. Mac Jones, you have to trade for him. I found out. I thought he was a free agent. I guess not. I forgot he signed an extension or whatever. But you're not getting those guys. So okay, you run it back with Sanders, Watson, Zappy. You got those three. Okay, fine. 1 year, and then you go back. You reassess the draft class next year. Now the Browns are famous for pulling a draft day move, like and they somehow get the number one pick or something, like they did last. Well, they didn't get the number one pick last year, but they fell to Jacksonville because Jacksonville got the pick, and now that Jacksonville picks, I wouldn't say screwing us, Mark, but now it's like, well, who's going to be there at the end of this round? Because if Jacksonville wins next week, they're going to be what 25, 26, 27 range again, and
I believe so.
they're going to keep dropping and dropping, and it's going to be. I think you got to go lineman maybe first pick in the sixth pick because
I
I mean
I would
you
say
get
you have to go tackle.
because you're going to get a wide receiver probably late. Who knows? I don't think obviously Carnell Tate's not going to be there. I don't know if the Arizona State guy is going to be there and Jordan Tyson. That's going to be interesting. We'll talk. Obviously, we're getting more to this as we get closer to the draft, but these are just things that get people you got to keep in the back of your mind when you get this head coach. I know we want the big name. I mean, I would love a big name head coach because with the experience like a John Harbaugh, Mike McCarthy, but it's just not going to happen. And I mean, he's got to have a good track record. Now, if you go young, I could see it, but I think, like Mark said, after listening to you talk, I agree. The young could cost us. Like Stefanski kind of cost us in the end. So I just don't know where we go from here. If it's the, I mean, it's gonna be exciting in the next couple of weeks to see who we interview, who we don't interview, or who's on the table and all that. And it's been interesting to see. I would love to, yes, get rid of Tommy Reese. He stinks. He's not a guy for the role. I think he needs to
He's a
go.
college play caller. Let's be honest.
Yes. And Saban hyped him up. Well, because Saban was in college, he saw what he could do in college. Keep him in college. I know he was agent talk, quote unquote, for the Michigan job. I would have probably went up to Ann Arbor and burned the place down if he was the coach. But You get rid of him, keep Schwartz at all costs. Definitely need a new special teams coordinator. If he's on this staff next year, that's one strike against Barry in the second chance. He's got to go. He has not improved. The kicking got a little bit improved, but his punting unit sucks. His punt returning unit sucks. Yesterday during the Bengals game or Sunday when we were watching this, the dude caught the ball at the 3 yard line instead of letting it bounce. Okay, if you get an unlucky bounce, so be it. At least you didn't touch it and put it in harm's way. Granted, the game didn't mean anything, but that's just lack of coaching and a little more on the player too. But that's the lack of coaching. You got to tell them, like, hey, get the hell out of the way. Don't even touch it because you're just going to create problems. And I hope the new coach gets rid of Bubba and Reese. If he gets rid of Reese, Bubba, I think will be a-okay with that. So that's that on the defensive side or offensive side. Defensive side, Mark, it's really interesting because you have a lot of talent. Well, offense side, you need wide receivers and tackle. We pretty much know that. Running back is let's real quick. Running back, that's be interesting. Judkins is hurt. I don't know about Judkins. You probably need another guy now. We don't know how Sampson's going to be. Rocket Sanders is okay. Jerome Ford's probably gone. So I think you also got to get a running back because the running back is still not. We don't know how Judkins is going to be. I can't trust Sampson. I mean, it's good. You'll be able to pick up somebody, but at the same time, like we were playing this. What is this guy like? Trevion Williams? I don't even know who the hell that guy was until he played like a couple of weeks ago. But I think for Juck, I mean, you're going to need a running back, and this running back situation could be fascinating to watch, knowing Judkins still has to rehab, still has to come back, and that's one position I'm watching. Tight end Fannin. We know Njoku. Sounds like Njoku might be gone, depending on who didn't. Depending on if they could get him back. But I mean, on this defensive side, it's be very interesting how they retool his defense. They really don't need to do much. I think they need another D end or defensive lineman, Mark, because to help with Garrett. I mean, Mason Graham did okay. It's only his year one. You got. I mean,
He came on well at the end of the year.
yes, I'm gonna say this. Let's get into this topic real quick since we keep talking about. Let's trade Ward. I'm all for trading Ward, y'all. I don't care if he's a Pro Bowler or not. You trade him. He's a made of he's made of glass. You touch him, he gets hurt. He got knocked out of the game yesterday because of a quote unquote neck injury, Mark. And for Ohio State people trying to defend him, I know Mark, you've kind of turned a page on him since he's been getting hurt. I don't care. He's a Pro Bowl. He sucks. He's gone. Every time he gets burnt, he quits. And I don't want that on the team going forward. And I want him traded, and he should be traded because he cannot play a full season. And I don't know why people can't understand that when he doesn't play a full season, he sucks. I don't care if he's a Pro Bowler or not. You should be. I don't care if the game meant nothing. He should be on the field trying to play for a job next year, and he wasn't. And I'm done with him. Get him out of here. That's one guy, Mark, I want gone.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Ward and what is needed, I think I'm going to touch on offense first, and then I'm going to go over defense. I think the offensive um vision, especially some of the young pieces, I would agree with. Like Fannin, I love Fannin. It sounds like Njoku isn't too sure what that deal is going to hold. He has said that he wants to be in Cleveland, but it all depends on um what contract negotiations and whatever what comes from that, and that's okay. I think while I would love to have him back, I can understand he's a very good tight end. He's done a lot for the organization. He's been a really good player and community man for Cleveland. So, I mean, if we can't get him back for whatever reason, I would wish him all the best because he's been honestly one of the better pieces for us um, since the time here. I would also say that uh, Fannin, I like the Fannin pick. I know that Judkins is slated at this current time to be ready to go for off-season camp. Um, Now we'll see how he comes back. A broken leg isn't exactly the easiest to come back from, especially the way he runs. He runs very violently, and he has since his days at Ohio State and Ole Miss. He's not exactly a burner, so I think we do need a switch up back. Sampson was supposed to be that burner back, but he seems we'll see how he comes in next year. He was also coming off an injury, so I think we have to give him some slack as well. Now turning over to the defense, I think, and as far as the draft goes, before I actually go to the defense, I think if Jordan Tyson is there at number 6, you have to take him no matter what. If either him or Carnell Tate are there, I prefer Tyson. While I love Carnell Tate as an Ohio State guy, I think you need a bigger body, more of a downfield threat because Judy really isn't that. Bond is that, but I think Bond's more of a four wide receiver set guy at this point in time and more of a middle of the field kind of guy. We need similar to what the Panthers had with Chet McMillan this past year, where we need a guy that can go all three levels, a big body receiver that can catch short passes, intermediate passes, and can catch those deep balls where basically what we thought Cedric Tillman would be, but a surefire first round guy.
Definitely not
As far as
Judy.
the defense goes,
Definitely not Judy.
yeah, it's definitely not Judy. Judy's maybe a number two, fringe number three guy. I think I like Bond more than I like Judy at this point in time.
Ah,
But Judy, I think we need a veteran. I like Bond because of his upside and his athletic ability. He hasn't had the catch problems that Judy had. Judy's a top five drop guy in the league since he's been here the past 2 years. I know he made a Pro Bowl. He had 10 drops this year, and I believe he had double digit drops the year before. You can't count on a guy as a number two, number one guy who's constantly dropping the ball, especially in big time moments. Um, and Bond has no a round one grade and upside where you've seen him burn defenses time and time again. If we can give whatever quarterback is there some time, he's a great middle of the field and deep threat burner. But as far as defense goes, I would say Mason Graham definitely opened my eyes towards the back half of the year. He started to come on. It seemed like he had to find his way a little bit and understand because at Michigan he was kind of the guy. He was able to kind of take over the defense as the anchor there, where I think he had to find a new role with Garrett and everybody else, and he really played well the back half of the year. With Ward, I'm kind of on the fence. I would agree he's not the healthiest. He hasn't played a full season in a while, but I think it depends on what you can get for him. It's not going to be worth it if you can't get bare minimum around two pick or somebody back that would be young with a pick. I wouldn't trade him for like a bag of peanuts, so to speak, because at the end of the day, he still has the ability. He's still a leader in the locker room. So he's not absolutely worthless all things considered. His health makes him a big time detriment. And I think if you can trade him for like a day two pick, that would be something that I would be interested in. As well as like maybe a young corner that you could develop because Schwartz has developed kids like Martin Emerson, who was a day two guy that all of a sudden is a starter. You have these backups that looked good at times and just weren't really ready to play man to man all the time. So I think it depends on what you can get for Ward. I think you definitely need probably another interior lineman to help with Graham, and maybe like a rotational DN piece. But other than that, there's not much left um, for the defense to handle. It's gonna be all dependent on um, kind of where you go with the head coach. I think it all needs to be worked offensively because this defense was just on the field too much,
yeah.
and it turned into bad film um, all year long because of how much they got stuck on the field and how much they were playing. Kyle, but I do want to touch on one thing as there is some, I'll call it dirty laundry, so to speak, kind of coming out now that Stefanski has been fired. At the time of this recording, we're now basically hearing that um, Stefanski and the front office were essentially at odds in the fact that Stefanski, according to sources at CBS, did not want the Watson trade to be made. He didn't want any part of it, and the front office did it anyways. And maybe that was kind of the beginning of the end for the Browns and for Kevin Stefanski. Kyle, what do you feel about that? I mean, at the time, I think all of us were, I'll say, optimistic about it as we knew the allegations, but we also knew that at the time we were getting a once top five quarterback in the league in a big swing from the front office. Finally, for once, that gave us an indication they were trying to win. I mean, what do you say about that, Kyle? And what do you think about kind of where that puts things into perspective of what's happened today, as well as maybe why Stefanski began to fail.
Yeah, I mean, at that time, I'd have to go back and do research on who was the quarterback options at that time. But I mean, yeah, you said Mark, it was a great trade at the time. We're all pumped up. We're all ready to go because we thought we thought he was going to Atlanta because Atlanta was in the market for him. We were in the market for him, and then all
We thought he
reports
was
saying,
still going to have the top five.
yeah, but all reports were saying, oh, he's going to Atlanta. That's it. Browns have to restart, and then we got him. And this is a very interesting thing because it's tough to say. I mean, like I said, I have to go back and research who the quarterbacks were at that time that we could have got via draft or whatever. So I can't speculate to the if it was good or bad at that time. But I just you writing was on the wall, and when we talk about this, you knew there's maybe it'll come out, maybe it won't. I don't know, but when you could tell when there was what's the word I'm looking for? There was trouble. Let's just go trouble when it sounded like Stefanski wanted Gabriel, and then the front office wanted Sanders. Now, remember, Stefanski was all in on Flacco before he got traded and was not going to play Gabriel or Sanders. And then Flacco did get traded to the Bengals, and then that kind of forced Stefanski's hand in playing one of the other two. And he said, okay, I'm playing Gabriel, rode Gabriel out for about 4 or 5 games. And then Sanders came in, and that was kind of that. The rest was history. So I just think this is what I'm glad there was kind of a little pushback because that means he was trying to do his job, trying to figure out what would be best, and which is fine. But and I want this coach and it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the new coach. I want this new coach to push back on the front office, be like, no, we're doing it. I want it like this, this. I want to try this, and if he fails, then he can say, well, I did what it was my idea. I failed, and the front office could be like, well, okay, you failed, so that's how it's going to be. So I just don't know how. I don't know how it what's end it was, but I just think it was time for a change. And with Watson, with the Watson situation, I think there was a lot of people unhappy with it. I don't even know if some of the players were happy with it at that time. Maybe I don't even know. Now you're paying this guy whatever team. I mean, maybe do you trade him at midseason if he's okay, if he's good? Maybe the team will take part of his salary, or we take part of his salary, and then give him away. I mean, I don't know at this point because if you start another 4-13 season right in the face, I don't know what you do. Do you just ride Watson out? Because there's gonna be a lot of boo birds week 1, week 2, week 3 if Watson plays pre-injury where he doesn't get a win or he loses a couple games he shouldn't lose. So it's gonna be tough. I just for Barry's got 2 years left. I'm giving Barry 2 years, like we talked about, and he's gone, Mark. But yeah, at wits end, I don't know. I think there's more than what they're telling us. Now we got Judy, wherever the hell he's talking about on Twitter. We got one of the players' wives talking on Twitter. What the hell she's talking about? I don't know. But I'm sure there's gonna be dirty laundry coming out, whether it's against
Well,
Stefanski
well,
or
she has.
Barry.
I
Go ahead.
mean, and I think that is against Stefanski. For those of you that aren't super on Twitter or whatever the case may be, Wyatt Teller's wife is who we're speaking on, and she has been open about, and there's been a lot of players' families that have been open about not really liking the coach. Again, this goes back to what I was talking about with losing the locker room completely. He's lost it for weeks. Team captains have not agreed with his decision making, have not agreed with really anything he's been doing for a couple months now at this point. So it's not surprising to me that there's quote unquote dirty laundry airing, but there's also families in a sense celebrating, so to speak, him
Yep.
being gone. Um I think it just goes to show that if if anybody is looking at this and saying, I don't know why they did it. Look at the way things are happening right now, and you can tell completely why it was time to move on. Because now everybody is coming out of the woodworks. Everybody's saying how happy they are. Everybody is airing out their grievances, so to speak. So I think that kind of tells you like there's nobody as of right now. Granted, it is very, very early in this firing. There's nobody as of right now saying, "Oh, I didn't want him to go. Oh, this is terrible for us. Oh,
There
this
are
is
some
terrible for the
fans.
team. We loved
There
him."
are, there
There
are some
has not.
fans I've been seeing that are not happy he left, but continue.
Say it again, Kyle.
So there's teams that are not teams. There's fans that are kind of like wishing Stefanski would stay, but carry on from what I've seen on Twitter and all that
Yeah. Well,
There was-
but I'm saying as far as like I think players in front office are concerned, it doesn't seem like a lot of them are super upset that he's gone. And I think that's as much of telling as you need. I think I do agree with some of the fan sentiment because this is how the Browns' luck works. That he will go wherever he wants because he did have some coach of the years and some success with Baker early on and things like that. I think he probably will go somewhere as an OC or a head coach, and somehow he'll win a Super Bowl or something like that. And at the end of the day, we'll end up being cooked somehow, some way. Um, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it is what it is. I think as you're seeing all this dirty laundry air, that's the most telling thing in the world as to why it was time for the Browns to move on. And I just I mean, to close it out on my end, I just pray that they get it right. Kyle, I agree with your sentiment that it'll be very, very interesting in the next coming weeks, months, how much time they take and who they end up hiring, because this is, I mean, this is probably the biggest hire in recent memory of this organization's history at this point in time, since they've come back. Because right now you've tasted playoff success with the guy previous, and then you went right back to mediocrity, and you have a top notch defense right now, with a now sack record holder still
Yeah,
on your team and locked in.
yeah, lost and all that. Miles Garrett did get the sack record last night. It took him about a couple hours. It took him literally down to the wire to get it. So congratulations to him on that. And that's just a testitude. And it would have been, as now me and Mark were joking about it. It would have been some Cleveland shit if he did not get it somehow, and he lost down the last game. But that would have just been weird as hell if you didn't. But hey, congratulations to him. He did well. But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens. There's gonna be a lot that's gonna come out when we may. I doubt we'll know a coach by the time we come on the air next week. I would say probably maybe MLK Day or later we'll know. So I guess we'll just kind of know throughout the way. It looks like they're already process already starting. I just saw Tennessee's already get an interview. Kansas City's offensive coordinator Matt Nagy. So that'll be interesting to see what Kansas City does there in regards to that. But I just think Mark, I agree. They got to get this right because you're wasting. Here's we're talking about this for a minute. They're wasting all that potential, Miles Garrett. And let's bring this up, Mark, because I think it's a good topic to kind of lead into the picks and all that. I'm gonna be honest, folks. If you're watching this far, I'm gonna be really honest with you. I don't even care about that record. That record, I don't care because you know what? What did that record do? Didn't get us to the playoffs. What did that? You're wasting it on a quarter. You're wasting his prime talent on incompetent offense. When is the time that we're going to stop being excited about single season records and all that, awards and all that? I'm tired of it. I was talking to my dad about it. He feels the same way. Who cares about that award? Because you know what? Did it get us to the playoffs? No. Are we gonna? Is that gonna matter next year? No. Did it save Stefanski's job? No. So at the same time, Mark, I could care less about the record. I could care less about. I'm happy he got it. Don't get me wrong, as a Browns fan, and people are going to call me negative and all that, but it's annoying. It's annoying, Mark, that we're dealing with this. That we're it's annoying. I'll leave it to you. We're celebrating small wins when we should be looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah. I mean, so Kyle, you cut out there a little bit, but what it kind of sounds like is so to speak, um, if I heard portions of this correctly, was it more or less that you're speaking on essentially the Browns enjoying constellation wins, constellation prizes, based off of the Miles Garrett sack record, which I will kind of touch on a little bit. It did take him a little longer than it should have. At one point, he was on pace to shatter this record at 30 sacks. He was kind of um what's it called? He was slated to get so with that portion of things I did hear. Kyle, I'm gonna kind of swing it back to you, ask you again. Are we speaking on Brown's constellation prizes essentially, or
Yeah,
okay, yeah. So I would agree. Again, like kind of like I said, as far as the Miles Garrett thing goes, that's your consolation prize for the year, and we finally got that out of the way. He's been chasing it for what 3 years now, I think. And it came down to a 17th game. Now, when you look at the snaps and things like that, you kind of see that he beat the sack record in basically 200 less snaps than everybody else. But I mean, you are looking at a situation where the best thing that came out of this season was you're probably going to have the defensive rookie of the year, and you have a guy that broke the sack record probably will get defensive player of the year again because of that sack record. Other than that, you had a shit season.
Yep.
You had a whole lot of turmoil,
Yes.
whatever. Like, and I think that's where the pressure comes from the organization because now, Kyle, you and I and our friends have talked about it as well. Um, just in various group chats and whatever the case may be, we're all sick of the consolation prizes because we
Yeah.
can't even be happy at the fact, like, for instance, I'll speak on a fantasy football chat with a couple of Steelers fans that I was in and talking to last night. The fact that they go 9-8 every year is a consolation prize for them, and they just got into the playoffs, which I'm gonna come out right before we kind of look at some of the playoff landscape and pick some games and things like that. Um, Kyle, your hot take came about. I waved the white flag in the fact that Dennis and I in the beginning of the year did laugh at the fact that we thought the Steelers could ever make the playoffs. Loop, who knows if Loop made it back to Baltimore yesterday, but Kyle's hot take did did suffice, and the Steelers did win that division and will host a playoff game. We'll speak on that in a little bit, but you have teams like the Steelers and the Ravens in our very division that year in and year out are right on the fringe of winning the conference every year. Now, granted, their consolation prize for the Steelers is going above 500 every year, but they can at least say, "Hey, we made the playoffs this year. Hey, we have Super Bowls behind us with this same coach that we've had. We haven't had to go away from our coach in 20 years, whatever the case may be." And our consolation prize is we're a .25 win average team who has a one good player, two good players a year. That's not good enough anymore. And while I'm never going to stop arguing that the Steelers are going to be in the same boat as we are all the fucking time, I'd still love to hang a banner for division wins. I'd still love to be where we were a couple years ago, where we're a play away from the division championship in the playoffs more often than just a 1 year wonder. I'd love to be able to say, hey, we're competitive in the first round of the playoffs. Instead, we have to be happy with the fact at this point that we've done enough to force us to not draft a quarterback this year. That
Yeah.
shouldn't be a consolation prize. And I would agree with the sentiment, Kyle, that our fan base as a whole is just sick and tired of it, and we can't keep doing this anymore. And I think that's why this particular coaching cycle is so very important coming up here. And I think it puts the pressure on them on completely and totally having to get this right. Otherwise, you're going to have the fan base against you year in and year out until this gets fixed.
Yeah, and you know, people are like, "Oh, don't hate," or "Come on, you're a Browns fan, turn in your gear," blah blah blah. Yeah, it's nice to get these records, but at the same time, why are we keep celebrating this every year? Oh, well, Pro Bowls and Defense Player of the Year. Who gives a crap about them anymore? I don't care about them. Congrats. How do you think? Like
Not to mention, a Pro Bowler comes from every team basically at this point.
yeah, like I don't care. I care less about the award. Congrats, you got single sack record. That's awesome. That's an amazing achievement. But I want more. And if we're gonna go through this next year, I don't care. Miles gets what I'm sure there'll be another record to break somewhere, or whoever. If we break a record or come close to it next year, I don't care. Or the new coach breaks like I don't know something a record next year or something. I don't care, and it's not playoffs. I don't care. I'm done. I'm done getting excited about these little things because you know what? Because it gets annoying. Yeah, I know we're still young, but it gets like I want to win, and I don't. The Cavs aren't winning right now. They're getting blown out. They're losing every game almost. And you got the Browns over here. They're incompetent offense. You're wasting prime talent on defense, but there's a competent offense. Hopefully, the new coach changes that. But at the same time, we all get celebrate all these wins, all these oh my God, Miles Garrett, oh my God, Sweatshirt's gonna get Rookie of the Year. I'm happy for him. That's great, but when is enough? Knowing that we need to start looking at the bigger picture. You all need to be. You all need to know. You all. How do I put this? You all need to be upset at these awards. I'm upset at these. I hate we get that these are what our these are our championships pretty much. Why are these our championships? Because our competent offense, we're making up for drafting Mark, and it's just very frustrating to me that this is where we're at in the franchise. I'm done being done. I'm done being the same category as the Jets, the Raiders, the Giants. Who else? The Cardinals, the whoever else, and the Commanders. I'm done with that, Mark. And you have to celebrate. We need to start celebrating wins and playoffs. And I mean, I know everyone's gonna be celebrating him getting a single strike record or whatever, but at the same time, when is enough to be like, oh, who gives a crap about the single season strike record, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I will I will go ahead and say that again, it is a great achievement, especially considering the fact that he has been so close so many times, or at least have a track record to be close. That's obviously very important. Um, but at the end of the day, I do agree with you, Kyle. Like, what are we what are we as Browns fans supposed to do, and how are we supposed to continue? I mean, people have said it time and time again. This fan base is one of the most loyal fan bases. Why? Because we're here year in and year out with a dog water team. Every year they underperform, they underachieve, and it's pretty hard to underachieve when you've been bad for so long. We've had pieces, we've not had pieces, we've been young, we've been a veteran team. No matter what, they have underachieved in some way, shape, or form outside of basically 1 year, right? So, I mean, you go about that, and I mean, I agree. At the end of the day, I'm extremely tired of having consolation prizes for all this shit because, well, like something has to change. The culture of the team has to change. Now I understand, like, we're sitting there and we have Miles Garrett on our shoulders, and we're so happy that he finally did it. It's a great record, whatever the case may be, fine, right? But wouldn't you want that on the birth of a playoff run?
Yeah.
Shouldn't that be the goal? Like,
Yep.
I know that it's not every year that you're going to break that record, but at the same time, you should want that when you're having to play next week or the week after, whatever the case may be. You should want that as you're hanging up a banner for whatever first time it is that you've won your division.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, I'll be happy with the 9-8 record every year because at least that shows that we're a winning ball club for once
I mean,
and
that
we're
might
on the
guarantee a
fringe.
playoff spot. I mean, our division is guaranteed a playoff spot, but I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
Well, I mean, and what I say by that is, I mean, obviously, I don't want to be on the fringe of basically battling out 17 games for a hopeful division win or a hopeful wild card. What I'm saying is we haven't even been a winning ball club in how long? I mean, you're there just has to be something that changes soon. Now, I think you pack up this year for what it is. You Miles Garrett does what he does. You have your Pro Bowlers, you have whatever, and you move on from it. And one of these head coaches has to want to change the culture. You can't just have a guy that says you want to win. No, you have to want to change into a winning culture and now. Otherwise, you're going to be back in the same boat where you probably have a maybe a decent year and then you're back to the drawing board. You can't have it. It can't happen. I mean, you could make a jersey for coaches the way you do for the quarterback jersey, the famous quarterback jersey that we have, because that's how bad we've been, and
Yep.
it's just ridiculous. It's completely and utterly ridiculous, and you're in a division where you constantly see the same two teams win, winning it all, no matter what they do, no matter whether they have an old roster, whether they're supposed to be down. I mean, the Steelers have a roster that's stuck in 2016, and they just won the division. They have a guy at quarterback that's 40 years old winning the division. You've got multiple guys with full heads of gray hair on their defense, and they just won the division. Meanwhile, their entire careers, we've been terrible. We've
Yeah.
been terrible, and we beat them in one playoff game. Granted, that was the last time they were in the playoffs, but that's our claim to fame. We had one good year with Baker and with Odell and with Jarvis, which was probably our best roster today at this point. That basically got us to a second round playoff game where we were competitive, probably should have won. That'll probably haunt us forever as a franchise at this point. But like the motto and the saying of there's always going to be next year for the Cleveland Browns, it just has to stop. and it has to stop with this coaching hire.
Look, and you go back to this, the Steelers are the coaching. Look, it could be done easily. Look at the Patriots. Look at the Bears. Look at the Panthers. Now, I
And we
will.
had the Patriots head coach right now in our building just last year who wanted to be here, that literally said in a press conference he would have listened to offers. Remember that because he has a top 3 seed in the AFC right now.
Yep. Now, I will preference this though. I think Patriots will continue to sustain that whether they win this year or not. The other two, the Bears, the Panthers, I it's is it a 1 year wonder or is it real? Those are wait and sees. But the first year, you could be at the Browns, be like, look what they just did in year one. We could be in year one. Now, if we're gonna find out next year, Mark, or as we always say, is it gonna be a sophomore slump or not with these two teams, the Bears and the Panthers? Are they gonna excel again? Are they going to, fall to whatever? Fall to being out of the playoffs. So that's a wait and see, but they're trending in the right direction, and it just pours more salt in the room. You know what it takes. Now, if you go a guy like Ben Johnson, that's fine. Let's do something like that. If it wins, hey, screw it. But I'm going to walk back what I said about 2 years. I'll give the coach 3 years. I'll give the first year next year to kind of get his style in, get the players, whatever. Okay, we'll take our lumps next year. Maybe we'll get lucky. Second year, no excuses. Third year, no excuses. If you don't get it by the third year, you're gone. Goodbye. And we'll because I love the first year. Make the playoffs, but then you got to reciprocate it. You got to do it again and again. Like look at the Chiefs; they're reciprocating. They did it every year. Patriots look like they're on the back. The Rams they keep doing it every year. Eagles, look at the Eagles for God's sake. They had probably one of the worst seasons they've had, worst winning season in a while. Look where they're in the three or is it 2 or 3 seed? I think the 2 seed or three whatever seed they are. No 3 seed against the 49ers. Look at
I
them
believe they're a
49ers.
3 seed. Yeah,
There's teams in there that we could not model after, but look how the coach could turn it around. You got to do this sooner than later because at some point you're not. I don't know. You're gonna be gone on Miles. Who know? No one's gonna replace Miles. No one's gonna replace the generational talent. That's just not gonna happen. And then you
he's
got
101.
yeah. You're not gonna just like in college. You're not gonna replace the Jeremiah Smith or when you get there. But I don't know. It's very interesting to see going forward, Mark. And it's tough because you want to get there. But like, okay, because remember we thought, oh yes, we got the playoffs. 2020 is gonna be a new year. We're gonna be good. We're going 2021 nothing. 2022 nothing. Got 2023. All right, maybe we're back on track. Let's go. 2024 nothing. 2025. So that's why I want to wait and see on these Bears and Panthers coaches, and I hope they succeed. I hope they do because their teams I would root for. Like it's a good story. Like look how they're turning it around. But at the same time, Browns got to do something. If they don't do it, Barry, goodbye. Haslam, you got to make a decision, buddy, because if he don't get this right in 2 years, 3 years, we're right back here where we are. And I hate to say it, Mark, we're probably not winning a Super Bowl in our lifetime at that point.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. And again, kind of as we've alluded to throughout this podcast, it it'll be kind of a wait and see period at this point on especially for us on who we hire and where we think the team will be headed with said hire, because at the end of the day, um you'll be able to tell based off of whoever has hired's track record on how successful this whole thing could be or could not be at the end of the day. It'll be interesting. I know Jimmy Haslam has made his media statement. I'm sure we'll talk about that probably in the next coming weeks. Even though the Browns have ended their season, the good stuff for the Browns, unfortunately, is just starting. Being the fact that we have started our off season a little bit early. Kyle, while we're still on the NFL, however, I am going to kind of pivot us over a little bit to the playoffs. Obviously, we had an amazing game last night
Mm-hmm.
with the Ravens and the Steelers. Who would have thought
Yeah.
that that game would have turned out the way it did? And now you got the Steelers in the playoffs. You've got some big wild card games this coming week. I know we'll get into some picks later, Kyle, but who's your biggest surprise as far as wild card contenders and who will be playing this weekend? And what are your thoughts on how the NFL playoffs have now kind of shaped out and circled out?
I'll get that in a minute real quick. I want to end my get well wishes real quick. I want to get that in. I forgot about that. I'll get to your question, man.
Yeah.
I want to give my quick shout out to my uncle Steve, who's dealing with recovering from torn labrum surgery, as he got that a couple of weeks ago, and he's dealing with the rehab and all that. So I saw him over Christmas. He's in great spirits. He's doing very very well with that. So he should hopefully within the next month be good to go. So Uncle Steve, get well soon. Continue to rehab and all that, and cannot wait to see you at full strength very, very soon. Want to get that
For
out of there. All
sure.
right,
We're
now to
praying for
Mark's.
you.
Yes, 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 we are. So get to Mark's question as we move to the NFL and kind of wrap up the show for today. But yeah, the NFL. It's very interesting as I think Carolina. I keep saying it, Carolina. Mark, they're a fascinating. I don't want to say. Yeah, I'm gonna go Carolina. No one thought Carolina would be in a position. They beat Tampa. Well, they lost to Tampa, but was able to get in over Tampa. Was able to get in over the Falcons. So I Carolina's been one to watch. Now, will the playoffs come? I mean, they got a tough. The Rams are very tough opponent. Luckily, it's at home for Carolina, but I don't know. We're gonna get to the picks here momentarily, but I like Carolina. And Jacksonville surprising too. I like Jacksonville the way they're. No one's really talking about them. We haven't really brought them up when we're talking about coaching discussions and
Yeah.
how the mock teams. But Carolina and Jacksonville, two teams I'll be watching. They both got players or teams that are facing teams that have been there before and in a discussion. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how that goes. How these two teams play, Mark. And I'll throw it to you on the same question. I like Carolina and Jacksonville that they're gonna be. I would love a good underdog story to make a run in it.
Yeah, I agree. And before I kind of touch on that, being that we shout out some hot takes, I'm gonna shout out our good buddy Sean, who eventually will be on the show. He told us kind of similar to the way Kyle told us about Jacksonville early on this year. Kyle and I kind of laughed at him and said that there was no way, and all of a sudden, Jacksonville ends up 13-4.
Yeah,
And they're I believe they're hosting the Bills this weekend. Trevor Lawrence kind of figured it out towards the end of the year, and they went on. I mean, they're probably the hottest team in football right now. I would venture to say, but I mean, at the end of the day, I want to shout out him. I think my biggest surprise in the playoffs outside of the Panthers and I'm gonna say the Bears, just because of how well the Bears ended up playing this year. My storyline for the playoffs and what is biggest for me is who's not in. We have a playoffs chock full of new faces, Kyle. The Ravens are
love it.
gone. The Chiefs are gone. The Eagles are kind of limping. The 49ers are not what they were. Now they're still very, very good, but they're not as dominant and as surefire as what they were. And now you have teams like the Patriots who are back, the Chargers
Yeah,
who are in. You've got Jacksonville who we've already touched on. You've got the Rams. You've also got the Seattle Seahawks as a number one seed in the NFC. A completely new outlook on the playoffs without these surefire teams that are like, oh my god, they can't not get in or they can't not be playing. All of a sudden, we have these divisional rounds, these conference championship rounds, things of that nature. Excuse me, that are brand new with new faces, new quarterbacks, new everything. And I think that's very exciting to watch. Again, you have the Panthers, who we kind of rooted for all year long. And they found their way into the playoffs. They played a good game against Tampa Bay. Excuse me, this past week, and found their way in. And then you have some big matchups coming up. My other big storyline is the Bills. We touched on the teams that are not in. Is this Josh Allen's final year to kind of get this right before the boogeyman returns in Pat Mahomes and some of these other teams, because the AFC is pretty wide open for the most part, and outside of Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen in the playoffs has beaten everybody else. So is this going to be the final year, the his final chance to kind of win the AFC and get to the Super Bowl and get over that hump, or is he going to run into either this Jacksonville team or whoever they see next round if they do get past Jacksonville, where he just finds another bump in the road that they can't pass? Those are kind of my two big storylines for the playoffs at this point in time. Now that it's kind of shaped out and rounded out.
yeah, and like I said, like Mar, I'll go to your part. I love these fresh faces. I know we got some more matchups. This is the third time Green Bay and Chicago are going to play this year in a span of maybe like 4 weeks. So you know the hatred there.
Yeah,
Both head coaches don't like each
they've
other.
all been crazy games.
Yeah, both the head coaches don't like each other, so it's even going to add more fuel to the fire. Bills of Jacksonville, fresh kind of playoff spot or playoff matchup. I like that. Two teams that really don't play each other a lot. San Fran and Philly, I believe we saw that last year, the year before in the NFC Championship. I believe it was last year, right? Or the year
Yes,
before. Houston and
I
Pitt.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, Houston and Pitt. That's a very interesting game to see. Chargers, New England, very interesting. We can't forget to not talk about real quick the one seed Seattle and the Denver Broncos, AFC, NFC respectively. As what great jobs both those teams did. Even Seattle, with a not a first time head coach coming in, as more
Yep.
of a defensive coach, and Mike McDonald. He's coming in. He's leading the team to a one seed, and will get home field throughout the whole playoffs into if they make it to the Super Bowl, pretty much. But it's be very interesting playoff. I'm excited for this. I'm excited for the playoffs. And don't forget, Mark, we're to really dive into this, or not dive in, but pick. We still. It's a great weekend. I'm going to call it Super Weekend. Screw it, Super Weekend. We got college football playoffs and we got the NFL playoffs. So it's going to be an exciting weekend. And the weekend
Yep.
ended with a bang this past weekend, as it started Thursday night with that Ole Miss Georgia game. It was an awesome game we all watched. But yeah, the playoffs are great, y'all. The playoffs are great. They are what makes football so spectacular, and we are excited to cover it and other sports along the way. So, with that being said, let's pick some games to kind of wrap up here. I know we're kind of running it short this week, but we wanted to test some things out. And it looks like we're doing well, Mark. I think, knock on wood, it looks like everything's going well. I only had one incident, so that's good. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
I would agree. And as your sentiment said about the playoff time, I mean, you have two playoffs in football, whether you're a college football fan, an NFL fan, or a football fan in its entirety. I mean, this is the best time of the year. While it does get a little sad as we know that the football season is ending, I mean, this is the best time of the year. You've got your cream of the crop teams for the year, kind of playing arguably their best football or what should be their best football, going toe to toe and trying to win a championship. It should be a pretty exciting super weekend as we call it. I know the NFL calls it Super Wild Card Weekend, but you also throw in those college football games early on, Thursday, Friday, and you got yourself. I mean, you might not leave the couch for 4 straight days.
No, and I know Mark. I know me and Mark will be diving into all these games. As I know me and Mark on Saturday will be watching the first two NFL playoff games together, kind of, shooting the shit and watching them and dissecting them as they go. But so let's
Of
start
course,
with
of course.
as Mark mentioned, Thursday night in the Fiesta Bowl, Miami versus Ole Miss, two teams we did not expect to get here, Mark, and all of a sudden are making a run out of the first round. Who do you like and why?
So I've been kind of going back and forth. I think it's an interesting match because you don't know. Both teams are kind of coming off of a high, right? You have Miami who just unfortunately beat Ohio State.
We'll get into that
And
maybe
even
next
though
week.
I'm going to call it Ohio State beat Ohio State, we'll talk about that probably later on. Ohio State beat Ohio State, and Miami was a beneficiary. But that Miami defense is legit. That defensive front four is insane, and those two DNs are probably day one guys. Assuming they come out, I believe. I don't know if both of them have any more years of eligibility left as far as the NCAA is concerned. But regardless, if they come out, they're probably day one guys. I mean, they wreak havoc on people. However, on the Ole Miss side of things, you have an emotional win off of Georgia, an insane game, and that quarterback Trinidad Chambliss is insane. If he gets hot, he can beat anybody in the country.
Yep.
That offense is insane. That running back Lacey, I mean, he really showed what he could do. And that defense, I mean, they answered the bell. So I don't think that Miami is a surefire winner here. And you have kind of two teams that feel like that team of destiny, um, so to speak. I think I'm going to go Ole Miss on this one. I like their quarterback better. Um, I still think that I watching the game, reviewing the game, while I think Ohio State beat themselves, I also think that Carson Beck wasn't forced to beat Ohio State either. He did the bare minimum and the defense did all the work. The running game did all the work. But Ole Miss and Kyle, I brought this up um in our group chat, or I don't know if it was our group chat or alone. But Ohio State played well in the second half and played well when they had tempo going. Ole Miss plays the
Yeah.
fastest offense per snap out of anybody in the country right now. I brought up the idea that what happens if the Chip Kelly Oregon team played where they were going a snap a minute basically. Now, obviously, Ole Miss doesn't play quite that fast, but they're still the fastest paced offense in the entire country. And you've seen Georgia having problems with it. You also seen that Miami does a lot of subbing when they played Ohio State. Ohio State played extremely slow and allowed Miami to sub, but Miami was really tired in that second half. Now
Yeah.
they've got to keep up with the Ole Miss team, who is very explosive, and I think that comes back to bite Miami in the fact that they're not going to be able to sub in those defensive ends. I mean, they're going to have it out for them. I think Ole Miss's O line is a little bit better than what Ohio State was. They don't have the injury problems, and they don't have one side of line concerned as what Ohio State did, and they have a better back than Ohio State has. Lacey right now is a better back than what Bo Jackson is, and is a better back than what C.J. Donaldson is. And when Ohio State committed to the run, they were extremely successful. Ole Miss commits to the run, and then they speed you up. I think Ole Miss takes this based off the fact that they play that pace of offense, and their defense makes stops when they need to. I like Ole Miss in a close one.
Yeah, I like your take on Ole Miss. I think Miami's due. I think Miami they got that off the defense line is going to make a difference in the game now because I think even though and I think the scrambling may help Chambliss, but at the same time might hurt him because if those defensive ends could get off the line, they got those two guys that could converge and contain them. And if they contain them as fast as they did against Ohio State, I think Miami
Yeah, they
wins.
funnel you in.
Yeah, and I think Miami wins. I think Carson Beck makes enough plays again, just enough plays to win. So I'm going Miami in that one. And then the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. Two teams that people thought would get there are there. Oregon Ducks take on the Indiana Hoosiers. And Mark, this is a toss up for me, but I'm taking Indiana slightly. I would not be surprised if Oregon pulls this upset, but I'm taking Indiana. I think it's gonna be close, like the first game in Eugene was. Give me the Fighting Signettis in a nail biter on Friday night in the Peach Bowl.
Yeah, and I'm actually gonna go the opposite way now. Uh Oregon, I think at this point in time, what I'm gonna say, I'm gonna give Signetti credit. Right now, I think he's the hottest coach in college football. He's killing the transfer portal again this year. And he's won the games that he's won. He just dominated Alabama and made them look like absolute shite, right? But at the same time, it's very hard to beat an opponent twice, especially when the first game was close.
Yep.
It wasn't exactly like they blew Oregon out of the water. Now, Oregon does have some things to prove here because they gave up quite a bit to JMU. Now, they looked much, much better against Texas Tech. So now it's a story of what Oregon team is going to show up. I love Dan Lanning as a coach, as much as I hate him. Basically, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think I think Oregon wins this one. I think they win it close. I like Dante Moore a little bit better than I do Mendoza, but I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana blows the doors off of these kids just because of the way that it seems. I think I'm back to agreeing, Kyle, with your sentiment that if not this year, when for Indiana? They're a constantly veteran team now. They're really good in the transfer portal, but I think Signetti's got his hot streak and he's got his fastball um, this year, and I think that at the end of the day they will come out they have a big chance if they win this week to come out victorious. But I like Oregon in a close one based off the fact that I think they're playing good ball right now, and I think it's just too hard to beat a team two times in one season when it's that close and when you're that equally matched.
Yeah, I mean we saw what happened to Georgia. It was almost Georgia in the first round, and they beat them. Our Ole Miss turned around and beat the favorite in Georgia in the Sugar Bowl this past Thursday, New Year's Day. So be very tough. Yeah, when you're speaking of the portal, we're gonna get into that in a couple of weeks. Is when our buddy Sean joins us to talk college football and the landscape of college football, the transfer portal, recruiting, and all that. You Tennessee or Cincinnati, he already got his quarterback for next year, TCU transfer. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how. He got the Rourke from Ohio. He got the Mendoza from Cal. Now he's the TCU is Hoover from TCU. So I'm one of those guys where, well, I'm more excited to see what transfer QB is going to get next year from what school. So it'd be very interesting to see what Cincinnati does there. All right, as we turn towards the NFL, we kind of wrap up with some picks. That we have to see the dogs are excited. We're getting to some NFL. So as let's go the first game, the Rams and the Panthers kick us off Saturday. Mark, who you like?
Um, it cut out a little bit there. I'm assuming you asked. It looks like you asked Rams Panthers.
Yeah.
Um, if that's the case, I do. I think this is where the Cinderella story stops for the Panthers. I just don't. Matthew Stafford is in the running for the MVP, and there's a reason for that. That offense is so explosive, and he's been there before. Bryce Young, I think he's got his moxie back, but I don't think they have the weapons enough to beat the Rams. They have a good defense, but at the end of the day, I think the Rams kind of run away with this one. I don't think Devontae is going to play, but I mean, who's going to guard Nakua as well as that running game is still up there. I think the Rams win this one pretty easy, but it's still good to see the Panthers in there, and I think they do put up a bit more of a fight than what people think because of Bryce Young's acumen and want to win. I think, like I said, he's got his moxie back. He's always been a winner, and I think he's going to put up a fight. But I just don't think they have enough to beat them.
Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, I'm going Rams. The Rams are gonna be too much, too powerful. The Rams know what it takes to win. Carolina's first year in the playoffs. Carolina's looking on an up and up. Well, obviously, we'll go back to the can they reach? Is it a sophomore slump for the coach or not? So give me the Rams. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a blowout at some point. If it's maybe fourth quarter, we're talking about nothing related to the game. So I like the Rams in that one. Saturday night in Chicago, the Packers and the Bears, round three in a matter of like 4 weeks. How about that? This was a toss up, but I'm leading Green Bay, Mark. I'm leading Green Bay. I got a funny feeling Green Bay's gonna go in there and take the win. So give me the Packers in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to go with the Bears on this one. I think the Bears just might have their number. They're a better offensive team, and with LaFleur's contract kind of being a talking point, I'll be interested to see what kind of comes of that. And I think that's going to be a bit more of a distraction than what people think. And I think the Bears just have their number. And at the end of the day, the Bears take this one. They're playing really good football right now. And at the end of the day, I like them better than the Green Bay Packers right now. The Packers also have a bunch of injury concerns as well. So I think a couple weeks ago I probably would have picked the Packers, but right now the Bears are just on a different level than the Packers right now. I think.
Let's all right. We move on to Jacksonville. A fresh kind of playoff matchup. Bills Jacksonville or Bills Jaguars. Who you got?
So, well, I think this is Josh Allen's last opportunity and Josh Allen's last year for it. I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars in this one. They're the hottest team in football. Trevor Lawrence looks like he is finally playing up to that number one pick potential, and I'm going to go with the Jags on this one. I think the Bills are kind of limping. They haven't played the best football in the world, and I think their lack of weapons is going to come back to hurt them here. Whereas I I just like how the Jags are playing football, and so I'm going to go with the Jags on this one. I think it's going to be a close game, but Jacksonville is just on a heater right now, and I don't see them losing in this game. They've gone on a playoff run once before, um, so I know that their or Lawrence has been there before. I like Jacksonville to win and probably a close game. The last time they got into the playoffs, they played some real good football. They came back against the Chargers in that one, and they made a pretty good run. I could see them coming back and doing the same thing here with an even better team.
Yeah, it's hard for me to pick. I'm going Bills. I just think the Bills are going to be closer than what we think. I think the Bills. This is the year they win and maybe get to the AFC Championship game again because I just in their obviously the reseeding works. I don't know who they'll get. I think they're the 6 seed. I think right. So they'll get like I don't know who they'll
I
get the
believe
three.
so, yeah.
They'll get the 2 or the 1 seed if they win, or if I don't know. It depends. It's some weird crap of how the playoffs could work in the NFL. So I like the Bills beating the Jacksonville. I just think the experience. I mean, I'm going Bills. I want it to be a toss up, but I just like the Bills in Dion. All right, and here's a rematch that we've kind of seen the past couple of years. It's 49ers in Philly. This is an interesting. It's in Philly, Mark. I think yeah, I'm going Eagles. I don't see enough firepower. I think Philadelphia. It could be. It's gonna be a good game, but I think Philly squeezes it out against the 49ers to move on to the second round, to the divisional round.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the while the 49ers are playing good football, I think Philly is more of a complete team, and they have not only the acumen but the weapons to kind of overcome some of their struggles, and they seem to have found their way here the last couple of weeks. I'm with you there. I'm going Philly on this one to get to the next round and see where they end up.
Yeah. So and then Chargers New England. Mark, it seems like an interesting game on paper, but I could see this being lopsided. Mark, a lopsided. I give, who do you like in this one? I'm still kind of torn on who to take.
I think the Patriots might blow the Chargers out. To be honest, Drake May again, another MVP contender. Vrabel has been there before. He has rings in different areas, and he's also made runs with lesser teams in the Titans. I think his the way he coaches and things like that. Where Jim Harbaugh is still a good coach, I don't think the Chargers have quite the weapons that New England does, and they're not playing the kind of football New England is. I like them to get an easy win here and move on to the next round.
Yeah, I like the New England. The Chargers looked dead. They looked dead against Houston. They couldn't even smooth the ball against Houston. Houston's one of the kind of teams they should have beat to get in, but or should have beat. But I don't like the Chargers. I like give me Patriots in that one. And to wrap up this our next weekend slate, the Texans and Pittsburgh. Does Tomlin use his voodoo once again, or does Houston put a clamp on it and win a road playoff game? This is the first game for the playoffs, a wild card game that Houston's not playing at 4:30 on Saturday. It's very interesting. They've always played at 4:30 on Saturday. They're playing Monday night in Pittsburgh. Who do you like and why?
Um, I like the Texans here. I think it's going to be an easy win for them. If you watched the Steelers' defense yesterday, um, they were Swiss cheese all day long, and now they're going to play a more pure passing quarterback and a better defense. The Ravens' defense is extremely, extremely injured and beaten down, and the Texans' defense is the best in the NFL. I think the Texans win this one easy, and this is the end of the road for the Steelers.
Would I be surprised if Pittsburgh won? No. I think Texas defense playing at another higher level right now, and I think they win it next Monday night in Pittsburgh. Well, folks, you've waited long enough. We have some exciting news to tell you. We wanted to get it confirmed. It is confirmed. We will be recording live from our first road show at the Brooklyn Rec Center for Barron Cup Week, February 2nd. Monday, February 2nd. We are very excited to do this as we got the okays. As me and Mark know, the commissioner of the league, Ryan Kelber, we're going to try to get him on. We're not saying for sure he's going to be on, but we're going to try. But at least we're going to be there Monday. We're gonna still do our own thing here. We're gonna talk a little bit Barron Cup. We're gonna do our thing here that week. So we're very excited, and we have some very exciting. I have to get what I need to get. But Mark, we're gonna do the other thing I talked to you about if you remember about the I'll tell you. But
Yep.
the one thing we're going to do. Someone gave me a good idea on that the other day, so I'll run it by you when we talk later on. But so those are exciting. I gotta get the thing. But anyways. That's exciting. That's our first road show. We're hoping to do another road show in summer, maybe at Browns training camp. We're not certain on that. That's just a goal, but if anything, we'll do maybe something smaller when we get to there. But hey, first we're excited, Mark. First road show. It's gonna be very fun to get there and kind of feel like a college game day. Well, I know we're not gonna have people there, but it feel like to be on the road for once.
Yeah, I would agree. We've been very excited about the idea of it. Now that it's confirmed, it's even more exciting, and we hope that you guys enjoy it as much as we're excited to have it done. And Kyle, I mean, as we kind of wrap it up here, it's we kind of figured our way out. Kyle, your internet problems have been kind of worked out, and here we are ending the show together as a group, and we couldn't be happier about it.
Yeah, we are excited, folks. We are excited for this time. We got where I got to get the okay, but once I get the okay, I got to get because we're gonna do an exciting thing each at least once every couple months. So I should have had the person gave me what I needed to the other day. I couldn't, I forgot, but it will happen. We're gonna do it once we get that get once. Oh, I don't want to spoil it. Once we get what I need to, we're gonna do it. So it'll be very exciting. We're very excited for it moving forward. So we're out of here. Enjoy Super Weekend. We got college football. We got NFL playoffs. Mark, this is one of the best weekends of the year. We are locked in. We will recap some of it next week and get you to the next biggest thing coming up. So for now, I'm Kyle. He is Mark. We'll see you next week, only on the Final Whistle.